Hello and welcome to the KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. I am your host, Kaylin John Louis, and it is my honor to be on the air with you all today. Just a friendly reminder to make sure that you continue practicing safety precautions when you are around others, whether that means wearing masks or getting vaccinated to stay comfortable, or simply using the buddy system when you're out in public. Please just ensure your safety and others as you travel or as you go out to certain extracurricular activities. I also, before I go any further, want to encourage you right now to download the Hallelujah 95.3 app so that you can listen to the show on the go with your family and friends. Also, tag a friend and have them tune in today because today's discussion is very important and I believe it's going to impact the lives of many. To get right into today's topic, as many of you know, one of the most essential practices will be taking place in less than 2 weeks, and that is voting. Over the years, several critical key figures have fought for our right to freely and peacefully practice civic engagement. Specifically, they fought for our right to vote. This privilege is extremely crucial to upholding American democracy because citizens have the opportunity to vote for leaders that share their ideals and interests. However, due to recent unfortunate events, many people have decided to stop exercising their right to vote. By doing so, they're not only affecting political decisions, but are also impacting the lives of those who cannot vote, teenagers. Adults get to vote on issues that heavily influence teenagers while we deal with these decisions firsthand. So today, I have the honor of having two special power teens with me to discuss the topic voting. It matters. During our discussion, we'll give you our first take on the importance of voting and making your voice heard. So to give my first guest an introduction, she is a high school senior who attends Florida State University schools. She's highly involved in several organizations such as the National Honor Society, National English Honor Society, Student Council, National Spanish Honor Society, Mu Alpha Theta, Youth Leadership Tallahassee, and the Southeast chapter of Peace Jam. She's also proud to serve as the president of Building Incredible Generations, a student-led organization that promotes diversity, inclusion, and social justice at the school and within the community. In March of this year, she was recognized as one of Tallahassee's 5 young women to watch, and she truly is a power teen who advocates for social change and is passionate about collaborating with others to address the big issues that face society. Her name is Ms. Nia Terry, and I'm honored to have her again on the show. Welcome to the show, Nia.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. Glad to have you on. Now, I do have a second guest that I'm going to give an introduction to. My second guest is a high school senior who attends Leon High School. He is a well-rounded young man as he is the oldest of 7 siblings and an astounding musician. He takes on many roles as a leader, whether in school as the horn section leader in his band or the bass section leader in the Capitol Singers. He is also a musician and worship leader at his church. His community involvement includes, but is not limited to, Youth Leadership Tallahassee, Greater Bond Neighborhood, and Links Battalion. He also writes and composes his own music in his free time. Although very busy, he enjoys making an effort to maintain the priorities in his life, whether that's academically or musically. His name is Jermaine Edwards, and I am so excited to have him on today. Welcome to the show, Jermaine.
Hi, thank you for having me. So glad to be here.
Yes, I'm glad to have you both on. As I mentioned to everyone, we are all seniors. This is our year where we're getting ready to enter that new phase of our lives, where we're getting ready to enter this whole political world where we get to vote, where we get to help sign petitions and truly make the world a better place. And with the topic being voting and why it matters, I kind of just want to open up by allowing both of you all to talk about why you feel like making our voices heard is important. We can start with Jermaine and then we'll go to Nia.
All right. Well, we are directly impacted by these rights that are getting passed and laws that are being passed, we directly get that consequences or actions, whatever that's happening. Most people in politics are older and won't really live to see the full consequences of this law being passed or this being passed. So us as teens, yes, not being able to vote, but being able to encourage and motivate our older people to make the right choices that will affect us positively is so important. And I can't stress that enough, how much it affects us, but we can't vote. So yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, it sucks that the voting age is 18 because I know there's a lot of things that we all see and so many other teens see going on, whether that has to do with recent Supreme Court rulings or it has to do with things going on economically in the environment. There's so many issues that the world deals with. And while we cannot vote, I do believe, as Jermaine stated, that it is important to use our voice for change just so we can encourage other people. I mean, our voices matter. Everything we say, everything we do can help encourage people. Nia, how do you feel on this side?
Uh, Honestly, I agree with Jermaine. The only way the democratic process works is if everyone is involved, as many people as possible. And I agree with you, Caitlin. It sucks that the voting age, including for small like municipalities and cities, is 18. I know many 16-year-olds who have an opinion, who have a voice, and who would be more willing to go out and vote than 25-year-olds and 60-year-olds, because we're so passionate about the issues that we see because we are so affected by them. For example, student loans, and the voting that's going on about that. Me and Jermaine both know, Kaylin, you know too, you're a senior. Applying for them scholarships is hard. And that FAFSA is hard. And, figuring out how you're going to pay for the next, for your job, for basically your job, because you're paying for a degree so that you can get a job. Figuring out how to pay for that is so that you can have a better life, so that you can get out of your current situation, or so that you can maintain your current situation, if not make it better, it's hard to do. And we are some of the most vulnerable members of society. So the fact that other people are making those decisions for us when we have not yet established our space in this world it's a gross misjudgment of character and a gross misjudgment of our ability to think for ourselves and make our own decisions. So I think if you can vote, you should be, because it affects everyone who can't.
I agree. I mean, voting, we hear that all the time where you're in school. We all have to take government to graduate. They're teaching us about these policies. They're teaching us about all these cases where things have happened in history. And it was all done based off what people thought, their interpretations of the Constitution. Now we have different adults or different leaders that are interpreting this Constitution, and it may be affecting us in education. I mean, there's certain laws that are passed right here in Tallahassee that may affect how we are in school. It's affecting the different day-to-day activities that we have. And I just, as Nia stated, I think if you have the right to vote, it is important to vote. I actually looked up some statistics, and it seems that 18 to 24, that age group seems to be the group that doesn't vote the most, which is crazy because they are the ones that are coming after us. They're the ones that are basically speaking up for us because we're fresh, we're into the political world, and they're not going out to vote. And so I kind of want to give you all as well the chance to, what is something you would say to those people who are not going out to vote, or what is something you can stress to them of the importance of getting registered to vote and making sure that your voices are heard so that they are not silenced? We can start with Nia this time.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Go.
Oh, Jermaine, you can go first.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Back to what Nia said earlier. This democracy only works if everyone is involved. Like we that can't be stressed enough. If all voices aren't being heard, this isn't a fair game. This isn't being this isn't just fair. I looked up on the floor registration website, and they said the health centers improve when we all serve and vote, and we support healthcare and income and voting and all that. If everyone is doing it, if all of us aren't doing it, then we aren't getting the support that we need, and our voices aren't being heard. And it's important to to make your voice heard, because at the end of the day, it affects you. It affects you whether or not you vote or not. So you might as well just vote because for you it could be for your mom, for your dad, for your cousin, your aunt, your dog, your schools, your job. It just doesn't only affect you if you only vote. It affects your community and your environment. It affects everything around you.
I agree. It is not, voting is not just something where you go up to the ballot and you sign and this is your vote. There's so many things that come into play when you think about the voting process. I mean, to do it itself, the part of getting registered, the part of going out and having other people register and sign petitions, it's a part of political and civic engagement. And so going out is important. It's not, you're not only voting for people that Jermaine listed, but you're also voting for people who can't vote, which is us. You're voting for those people because we all sitting here, we have those powerful voices, we have platforms where we can share our opinions, but to not have the right to actually do it gives us that advantage to kind of get on platforms like this and say, hey, to those who can vote, get out there. To those who can make change in our world, do what you can, because if we don't all work together, then certain pressing issues will continue to happen. Nia, how do you feel?
I would say that people died to be able to do this. Like, that's what I would say. I would say that there are people who look like me, who look like us, who were not awarded when our first system came up. And what was it? It's like 1780 something. When our first system came up and those founding fathers and those white powdered wigs came up with the system, it did not include everybody. People have died to get us here. And the fact that you would choose to sit in your house and do nothing when like the voting polls are right across the street from you, when the voting polls, like, I understand if you can't make it to the polls, I understand all of that, but there are people who died. Like, there are people who went to jail. There are people who got lynched. There are people who went through everything just so that they didn't feel helpless, because that's what you're doing when you make the decision not to vote. You are signing on to be helpless in this system and to be helpless in this democracy, and you're signing on for your family to be helpless, especially if you have kids. You're signing on for them to be helpless because they're already helpless without you, but even more so, if you don't vote, they're helpless. Every single time you make the decision to sit in your house or to sit wherever and not vote, you are signing on to a life of helplessness, and you are abusing basically your right to take control over this country by doing absolutely nothing to help it. So please go vote, because if not, you're just wasting an opportunity and you're wasting people's legacy.
I totally agree. And I think one thing that we can start doing is acknowledging those problems. I think, especially in the Black community, we fought for these rights, and then we got those rights, and now a lot of us aren't voting because we got told that our voices don't matter. We got told that we are overpowered by this certain group of people, or like this doesn't matter. And that has been going on since we even started the right to vote, and it's still going on today, which sucks. And I think acknowledging those issues can also help show our Black young people that your voice matters. Your voice can make change. It can make stuff happen. So just acknowledging those problems is also highly important.
And I would say that it shows. Like, it's not like a theory. It shows in the elections when we vote. Like, it shows in the elections when minorities vote, when women make a decision to vote, when in Georgia, when Black people came out to vote in record numbers, they flipped an entire state blue. Like, for Georgia, a southern state, that's huge. Yeah. So we know that when we've come in and when we vote, we know that it makes change. It's not just a theory. It's not just an idea. It's not idealistic. It is true that when we show up to vote, it matters. But we have to actually actively engage in the democratic process. If you need mail-in votes, get them. If you need somebody to get a ride, carpool. Like, there is more than one way to make this work. You just need to sit down and decide, I'm going to go vote.
I agree. You got to do what you can to get there. And I mean, there's so many excuses that people use to why they couldn't get to the polls, whether that is that they didn't have a ride, or their voter ballot ID wasn't working, or they had troubles locating the places. There are a lot of different excuses that we can make to not make change happen. But I'm telling you, there are a lot of people out there who sit and complain about, I wish this wasn't going on in the world, or I wish this group of people didn't have to get discriminated against, but they don't exercise that right. And I like that you both mentioned that, unfortunately, in many minority communities, a lot of people still have this view in their head that, well, if they think my voice doesn't matter, then why should I vote? We
Mm-hmm.
have to use these times to talk to other people, to educate not only people older than us, but our fellow peers, that it's okay, even as a minority, you can still exercise your right. As Nia stated, there are ancestors who went and fought for that right to continue to make sure that we can use our voice. They didn't get to, but they kept imagining in their head that there's greater, there's more that is to come. And I think that to truly get that essence, to truly show that we are evolving as a country, we have to really start to use our rights. We not only have to vote, but if you're younger, you're like us and you can't vote yet, there are more than one way to actually get involved in your community, whether that's going out and helping people sign petitions, whether you're going out and speaking up like how we are right now about why voting matters, or you're simply taking the time to do your own research. I know a lot of times people don't vote because they don't know the history behind it, or they don't know who's getting voted into the polls. Technology is your friend. Go on Google, search the people that are running up, and truly see how them being in office would affect you, how would it affect your communities, and so on. It's so important that we get out there and vote.
I totally agree. Um, I believe that voting is taught. Well, it should be taught and facilitated and encouraged through culture and communities. And if these like things aren't taught young, it is only taught when you turn 18 because that's the age you're able to vote. That's a scary thing. Registration, being in lines. This affects like so many people. And when you turn 18, you're focusing on so much other stuff. That's when life began. You're in college, you're choosing your lifestyle, you're all these other things. If these things aren't taught and facilitated through schools or through households or their communities and aren't talked about before, no one's gonna like transfer those things. And when they turn 18, they're ready. They've done their research about this party. They know like who is running and like what I believe in and who I'm going for. They know those things when they get there because it's been encouraged, it's been facilitated, it's been taught. It's not just, oh, it matters when you turn 18 because that's what the law says. It starts now. It really starts now. Do your research now. Ask questions now. Like that stuff matters. And do your own research. Like COVID really showed me like I didn't get into politics until like COVID when like everyone was into it and like you hear all these like lies and all this it's a whole bunch of crazy stuff about government and I did my own research and a lot of the stuff that was said wasn't even like real. And so it's so important to do your own research and look at all the candidates and and just doing your own things to fully understand like how my vote impacts other people and how it's not just going to come when I turn 18 because it tells me that I can vote at 18. So that's also just important.
I completely agree with Jermaine. Like we say this about taxes too, about how like we don't get taught taxes in school, but like the second we're 18, we're supposed to magically know how to do taxes. Voting goes under the same thing. You do not magically understand the democratic process overnight. So the second that you're like, oh my god, it's midnight on my birthday, and like it's not like they put like a flash drive in your head that's like now you know how to vote, now you know how to research facts, now you know how to now you know how to look at ads on the TV and know what's real and what's fake. You know how to do background checks. Like you don't just magically know how to do that information. You have to learn. A lot of people will say don't talk politics at the dinner table, don't talk because and they say don't talk money at the dinner table, don't talk da da da. Like there is a time and a place, but the dinner table with your family, on the couch when you see something on the news, if you're watch the debates, watch what they're actually talking about. These people are PR trained. The only way for you to understand, like they spend hours and hours preparing for these debates. The ads that they have on TV, they are posed, they are practiced, they are rehearsed. The only way that you can really know what a person stands for is by looking into their policies individually. Don't worry about what they said. Don't worry about what they said on this date or that date. Don't worry about what a paper said that they said. You need to worry about what they did. Actions will speak louder, and their actions are their policies, the companies that they used to run, the nonprofits that they invest into, the charities that they look into. And all of that is public record because they're required to tell you that. They're required to answer that question. Actually go in and like look into this stuff. Their actions will tell you what they do. But if you sit there and you say, oh, when I'm 18, I'll just pick whatever my parents said. I'll just pick whatever my friends said. I'll just pick whatever, da, 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 da. That's not helping anybody. You might as well just not vote, because all you're doing is you're just voting for what you think is right, not what you know is right. So I completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, I love the points that you both are making, because one of the things that I am continuously learning, and I know everybody may have been guilty of it, of saying that you believe in this certain party, you believe in that, but you don't know about it. You've heard about it from adults that are before you, or different opinions of, well, if this goes on, then I should believe this. But truly make a decision to kind of develop your own political ideology, develop how you feel in politics, and actually get out and research. As they keep mentioning, you have to do things. Even on a podcast a couple weeks ago, it was probably in August, I know Nia was on there, and she mentioned that even educating yourself when you're in school, you have to do things outside of school to get yourself educated. So anything in the world, even though we're talking about voting right now, I'm talking in general to everyone listening, that there's some things in your life that you're going to have to learn how to do, going to have to learn how to see what's going on outside of what you do in school. Not every teacher, not every person is going to tell you. In fact, I wish that more schools would actually put this into their education system, of educating people on, this is how the political process works. This is what you need to do. And then the last thing I probably would say to recap is that 18 may be a number. As they said, it may be a number on the sheet, but learn before.
Yeah.
You are smart enough. You have the skills to be able to learn it. And if you're confused, ask your parents, ask your teachers, ask your fellow peers. I know sometimes I may feel uncomfortable talking about politics with my friends, but I'm learning now that it's important to kind of talk about that, to see why it's important, so you can hear other perspectives. If you want to get that conversation started as a teenager, start now. Start talking about it, because then you may know something that your friend doesn't know, or you may know how to explain the process to someone else. Use everyone for your resources, because voting is important. I'm going to give you all both time if y'all want to add anything else.
Yeah. I went to a talk panel a few weeks ago with my mom. Well, she was in the talk panel. It was at the Village Square, and they were basically talking about like the overall like topic was just respecting like beliefs and parties. A lot of thing that brings division and among like politics is us just not agreeing. And I think that not agreeing is okay. I don't think that everyone's gonna have the same thoughts about everything. And that's what also like makes people not want to vote, is that we're always arguing. It's never going to be like 100% you're right, 100% you're right. So I'm just not going to vote because it doesn't matter, because I'm never going to be all the way right. When we come together as a community and we listen to each other and our beliefs, not that we agree, but we listen to each other and tell them, I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I may not agree, but I hear what you're saying. What you're saying is just how you believe, and I can't change that. And being able to accept those things are very important with bringing everyone together and showing how important it is to vote. So like just being able to communicate and actually know your party's beliefs and ideals, so that you communicate with other people, so it isn't just bumping heads all the time, is so important. It's so important. Okay, so don't think like, oh, my full thoughts aren't what's happening in this party or this party, so I'm not going to vote at all. There's some party that you're going to majority be in touch with, majority believe in, and just do your research and just understand each party in its fullness, and not just what not what TV is saying or your friends are saying. It's okay to have those conversations and discuss those things, because at the end of the day, we all have to understand um, and listen to each other.
I completely agree with Jermaine on this one. If you focus too much on Democrat, Republican, red, blue, conservative, liberal, if you focus too on the extremes, then we're not going to get anything done. And I think something that our generation especially, which is why we don't vote as much, is we get too caught up into it's either right or it's wrong. Bad idea. Politics doesn't work that way. Politics is all about negotiation and compromise and, shaking hands on back doors. It's all about that. That's what it is. That's you. You cannot have politics without having a conversation and compromise, and without compromising some values. That's why you see a lot of politicians, and they'll say a lot of things and they'll make a lot of promises, but not everything gets done. It's not because they didn't want it to get done. It's not because they lied. It's not because of any of that. It's literally just because they couldn't get it done this time. They couldn't get it done in this election cycle. You have to give some, you win some, and you lose some. Understanding that we live in a world of grace, and understanding that it's not this side or this side, it's a very, very healthy middle, is going to make it much easier for our country to endure actual change. But the only way that that works is that everyone is involved. If everyone has a voice, if everyone decides to speak, because if we don't have that, then you're just sitting in this world of this side stays over here and that side stays over here. And we hope that you pick a side and you vote for that side, and whoever had the most votes this time wins. That's bad. We should not do that. We need to be able to say this side and this side, while they don't agree, most people are actually closer to the middle. Most people might not agree with the majority with the leader of the party, but they do agree with some of the policies of the party. Many people are not extremists, they're moderates. And so getting those moderates to actually have a conversation and understand each other will allow us to really endure some change that I think is necessary in this country. But the only way that that works is that if we start having that conversation like the grown adults that we are, and if we start having the conversation like we should be, and doing what people died for, doing what people fought for, doing what people walked hundreds of miles to do, and put ourselves out there and vote.
I agree. I mean, I kind of am just going to sit here because these are good tidbits. And I hope those who are listening, these are opinions coming from seniors in high school. There are still some adults who still don't grasp some of the stuff that we're talking about. And I think that proves that there are a lot of youth out there that know what's going on, that are ready as soon as 18 hits. We're not just waiting on that paper. As soon as we're there, we're ready to make change. I kind of just want to know, I want to harp on the communication part of that it is important. A lot of times we don't talk to each other. We don't listen to each other. And that's the whole purpose of voting. You got to listen to the people to understand where they're coming from before you can even vote. A lot of times we do a lot of talking instead of muting ourselves, instead of listening to what other people are saying. And so for those who can vote, voting is important. We've already talked about the fact that we can't vote, but these issues impact our future. But that doesn't mean that we won't get out there and still continue to make sure that we're protecting that right for ourselves. Last thing that I would probably wrap up with before we have to close the show is that you hear the phrase all the time, vote or die. Now, that's not that extreme. I'm not trying to get into that, but vote for you. Vote for those who are out there, because if you're not voting, you're just sitting still. You got to get out there and really make sure you're making your voice heard. You're too important. You are too smart, too intelligent to not get out and vote. And if people tell you that they think that you don't have the right, you have to tune that out. You have the tools, you have the resources, especially in our technological generation. We have all the necessary tools. You just have to get out there, because voting matters. I am so glad that we were able to talk about this topic, and I wish we had more time on the radio, but we do have to wrap it up. I am grateful to have had both of you all on the show. I think that if we continue having conversations like this, change will happen in our country. So I am grateful. If you all want to shout out how people can reach you really quickly before we close out.
All right. Well, I have an Instagram account, May Music Official. I post some music on there. You can contact me about anything. I do weddings, parties. I can do almost anything you want me to do. I play multiple instruments. I play piano, trumpet, tuba, controller, violin. So let me know. Hit me up there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for having me here. It was an honor. It was so great.
You can reach me at my email, nia.nicole.terry@gmail.com. I'm open to literally anything. I do a lot of different events around the city and with concerning diversity and inclusion and concerning making sure people's voices are heard. So feel free to reach out if you ever need anything from me. And I'm so happy to have been able to talk to you guys today.
Awesome. Well, you all know you can go ahead and check out Kaylin's Caring Connection website to find all things about me and about Inspiring Moments with Kaylin. As you know, the walk, I keep talking about it. It'll be November 12th. So I ask that you join me and join Team Youth Care 2 for the Tallahassee Walk to End Alzheimer's. Again, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your support and hope that you enjoy these empowering conversations. Always know that I care about you. And if no one has told you today that they love you, know that I do. Thanks for listening, and catch me on the next KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin radio show. Bye-bye.